Good afternoon. I'm Brooke Cunningham, Commissioner of Health. I want to make a few brief comments, many of which may be echoed by the concerns that others share here this afternoon. Public health officials, policymakers, academics, and others have long raised concerns about the conditions in detention facilities. While many facilities have screening and safety protocols, we do not know the rigor of those protocols or their compliance with them. It is not clear to us what kind of medical care or consideration is being provided to the people in detention, and we are learning about situations like the measles outbreak in that Texas facility through the media. Certain groups are at greater risk of poor outcomes, including young children, pregnant people, the elderly, and those who are immunocompromised. And I don't think we can overstate the psychological stress of detention itself. In addition to the concerns about the public health impacts of detention and the conditions in these facilities, we also know that federal actions have taken a toll on the mental and physical health of Minnesotans. People are afraid to leave their homes. Families are delaying care or not going in at all. Community clinics are reporting high no-show rates. And in public health, we talk about adverse childhood experiences and how the exposure to trauma, to stress, to parental separation and instability can affect a child's development and their health over a lifetime. A child's well-being flourishes in nurturing, stable environments, not in an environment of fear and uncertainty.
Thank you, Commissioner. Dr. Lewis.
Good afternoon. I am Brenda Lewis, the Superintendent of Fridley Public Schools. And what I am sharing today is a tiny fraction of the clear and present reality in my district and many districts throughout the state. Let me be very clear about my role. I am not here to debate or shape immigration policy. That is not my lane. My responsibility, and frankly my obligation, is the safety of children, families, and staff, and the right of every single child to come to school to learn without fear. For weeks, I have been speaking out and publicly documenting the impact of ICE activity in and around our schools. I have done so transparently because our children, families, our staff, and the public deserves honesty. And they have the right to learning environments that are safe, stable, and academically focused, not terror-ridden zones defined by fear and intimidation. Since doing that, the retaliation has been real, and it has been escalating every single day. I have personally been followed twice by ICE agents. I am a U.S.-born citizen, born in Lake City, Minnesota. One of our school board members was followed for over an hour. U.S.-born citizen. Multiple board members have had ICE vehicles outside of their homes for many hours on end. This happened last week and again yesterday. 4 black SUVs outside of a board member's home multiple times yesterday. ICE staged at 2 of our school buildings on Saturday, moments after the New York Times article was released. They also staged again this morning. This is not incidental. This is not benign, and it is having a devastating impact on our school community and school communities throughout Minnesota. I think we can all agree that none of us want violent criminals who are not here legally in our neighborhoods, but I also ask, I believe we all agree that we do not want school children terrorized, families afraid, or our staff prevented from attending and working in our schools because of sheer and present terror. Right now, students are afraid to come to school. Parents are afraid to drop them off. Staff are coming to work wondering if today will be the day that something happens in one of our buildings. We are seeing attendance impacts. Families are choosing virtual learning not because it's best for their child, but because fear has taken over. And this fear is not perceived. This is justified fear. In response, we have stood up every support we can because that is what public schools do. We have added security. We have added trained observers at all of our buildings. We have adjusted transportation. We have adjusted arrival procedures. We have adjusted dismissal procedures. We have increased social work, counseling, and mental health supports. We have expanded virtual learning and meal access for families afraid to leave their homes. We have cabinet-level leaders physically present in every single one of our buildings. We are communicating constantly with transparency and care. I personally patrol around all of our schools every morning and every afternoon. And when I do this, I certainly lets me know through hand gestures that they know who I am. And still, our fear persists because no amount of school-based support can undo the trauma caused by federal agents posturing in, on, and near our school properties. Schools must be safe places. They must never become places of intimidation. ICE does not belong in and around our schools, in and around our bus stops. Their presence is harming children. It is disrupting learning, and it's eroding trust. I will continue to be transparent. I will continue to speak up. And I am asking urgently for action. Get ICE out of schools, out of parking lots, and out of our bus stops. Our children deserve to feel safe when they come to school. This is not political. This is all of our responsibility.
Thank you, Dr. Tracy.
Hello, my name is Tracy Zhang, and I'm the school social worker at Highland Elementary in Columbia Heights. As many of you know, our communities and schools have been heavily targeted by ICE. You've heard from many representatives today about what's happening to our families, but I want to share what this looks like inside of the school from a staff member and what it looks like for children, educators, and the families that we serve. Over the past month, my role as a school social worker has changed drastically. I rarely meet with students anymore, and it's not because they don't need support, it's because we see fewer kids walking through the doors each day. Students used to be absent because they were sick. Now they're absent because they feared deportation. Students used to ask me for help navigating friendships. Now they ask me how to cope with ICE breaking apart their families and taking their friends. Much of my day is now spent coordinating food deliveries to homes, finding volunteers to transport students to school, and making sure basic needs are met for families who are too afraid to leave their homes. My job has always been to ensure students have food, clothing, and shelter, but I never imagined having to provide these services under such traumatic and distressing circumstances. Our teachers and staff are no longer just educators. They have become caregivers, advocates, and lifelines for our students and families. They deliver food, walk students to and from school, patrol school grounds to ensure safety, and do countless other things behind the scenes that most people never see. Our teachers are deeply committed. They really are. They're passionate, and they will always step up for their families and students, but they are exhausted. I am exhausted. Every day, I see the stress, tears, and fear as they face the uncertainty of each school day. How many kids will be in class that day, and how many will go home to find a parent missing? We're grateful that Liam and his father were able to return home safely, though we know this is just the beginning of the support that he'll need to process this experience that will likely have long-lasting traumatic effects. I also want to share the story of another Columbia Heights student, the first student in our district to be detained a month ago. That morning, I was asked to help locate a fourth grade student, Elizabeth Zuna. I met her father, Luis, in the hallway, and he told me that Elizabeth and her mother had been taken by ICE that morning on her way to school. Elizabeth was able to call her dad, and an ICE agent said they were going to bring her to school. Several staff members, including myself, waited outside the school building for a vehicle to approach and drop her off. No one ever came. That morning turned into hours of phone calls, desperately trying to locate a child. We did everything we could to keep Elizabeth's father calm and allowed him to remain at school as we searched for answers. By that afternoon, we had learned that Elizabeth and her mother were already taken to Texas. In my profession, I have seen many people break down in grief, but the image of Elizabeth's father will stay with me forever. I watched him sit in his car, bury his head in his hands, and cry uncontrollably. And those are images you do not forget. Today, Elizabeth and her mother are still being held in a detention center in Dilley, Texas. We urge our leaders to act with compassion, common sense, and urgency, because children belong in schools, not in detention. We're calling for Elizabeth to be allowed to wait out this legal process in a safe, humane, and loving environment, one that recognizes her dignity, humanity, and her right as a child. Children deserve safety, and schools should be places of learning, not fear. And no child should ever disappear on her way to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And a thank you to the folks who spoke here. We're living at a time when school administrators fear for their own safety for speaking up about the most basic of things of protecting their children and asking them not to do this. I'm grateful to the tens of thousands of Minnesotans who've taken to the streets, the helpers who've helped us, kept this peaceful. I will say the anger and the moral outrage that I feel, I think is felt by many Minnesotans. We're trying to act like we're negotiating some type of budget deal or something. Nothing could be further from the truth. The extortion that the federal government's trying to put on Minnesota and the harm, this is on purpose. This is on purpose to hurt us and make us fear and capitulate. But I think it's been clear, and I hope folks are listening who can make a decision on this. This group's going nowhere. Our parents are going nowhere. We'll stand with our children as many weeks, months, years it takes to do this, to end this, as the judge said, ill-conceived, dangerous operation that has nothing to do with safety or sane immigration policy. So, Minnesotans, stand that line, do so peacefully, know that every lever of power that we can possibly exert, from the Attorney General's office, from the Secretary of State's office, from the Governor's office, every elected official, and on the federal level, is being used. And I don't know, I don't think appealing to decency, appealing to human values matters. I think we just have to appeal that we're going nowhere, and this is still a democracy, and votes will be cast for decency over cruelty, for democracy over authoritarianism. But that can't be our only plan. Elizabeth needs to be home today. These children need to be accounted for today. We cannot wait for midterm elections, especially when it's very clear that there is no intention by this federal government to have fair elections. There's every intention to suppress those. So I'm grateful for this team. I'm grateful for the work. Know that the state of Minnesota, through the Department of Health, the Department of Education, and all of our tools, is working to make sure that we're addressing what are going to be long-term mental and physical issues that come out of this, but we will continue with it. With that, we'll take questions. Yes. Go. Good. I have not spoken directly to them yet.
What do you make of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announcing that federal agents will begin wearing body cameras?
Look, I'll just say this. Kristi Noem is the most ill-prepared and absolutely worst choice for any cabinet position we could. The idea of after three of our Minnesotans are shot, 2 murdered, all of that's happened. How about that body camera of Alex footage? I've been asking for that. I asked him for the names of who did it. I'm asking for some response. This is called damage control. And the audacity, after they were given $70 billion and are the 5th largest army in the world, that they're asking for more taxpayer dollars from states like Minnesota, who are payer states. I put no stake in what she says at all. But here's the good thing is, every single Minnesotan has a camera. Keep filming. Keep keeping track of this. Keep accountability.